Let's go over the new animation, effects, and rendering workflows in Qubit. I added a timeline here. We got a new panel menu, and we have also an audio. And as you can see, let's play this here. Let's mute the audio there, and let's go back to the beginning of the timeline. Let's take a look at what's in the scene here. As you can see, this has some effects. Let's turn those off for now. And this button here turns the texture animation on and off, and it constrains it to the frame. And then this has a proxy ring here. We can turn those proxies off. That way the animation plays back easier. And essentially, yeah, we just click the outliner here on the scene node. The scene node, yeah, has all the effects connected here. But let's start taking a look at the animation timeline here, how it works. Essentially, it's pretty similar to most timelines. We've got the ability to select a bunch of frames here, and let's say we have this chair selected. We want to offset those frames, we can do that. Let's say we want it to start over here, so we move them, and now it starts a little later. I put about 15 frames of warm-up time so that the bullets have a chance to generate some effects before they get to the first frame. This bullet is just moving forward until frame 135. And yeah, we have a curve editor and the ability to set the straight or a basal curve. This is a broken one. It can have two handles or have. So this one tries to, yeah, automatically set the handle straight. This one breaks it. Still, yeah, that way I can control both handles there. But let's take a look at some of the other animations. The camera, so this camera, just create a regular camera node, and we can just animate the camera, move it around, and key it. So let's take a look at what this camera is doing. Let's see. Okay. Let's change our navigation mode. So the camera moves forward, sideways. So let's say we want it to go up at this frame here. So just move it up, and then just key it. And as you can see, it just moved there. Yeah, we can also move the frame, and it also updates. Set it straight, or we can grab all these frames here and make them into, yeah, basal with handles. Still working on those, but oh, look at this one, also needs that. There we go. So we can make a better curve, and now it just moves up a bit there. If we don't like it, we can just delete it. And yeah, let's set these back to straight. And there we go. Okay, so also we have this drop-down menu to select the camera that we want to use, because that way we can preview our shot like that. And now we're actually looking through the animated camera. We can just let it play to the end there. And if we just go in here in the viewport, we can navigate, so it just snaps out of that camera. It's very similar to the way that the camera works in Houdini. And now we can animate the camera without it having to be constrained. If we do want to take a look through the camera, we can click there. Okay, so because the animation is playing, it's not letting us do that. But let's switch the camera here and lock it. Okay, now we're locked into that camera, so we're actually looking through the camera. That way we can control the camera by navigating and flying around our scene, and then we can just key it wherever that camera is. So let's have it selected, and now we can just key it there, and now that camera is keyed to that angle that we set. If we unlock it, we can then navigate away from it. Pretty standard there. So yeah, that's essentially the animation timeline. We can select our frames, move them. Same on this mode. Yeah, we can move them like that. So another thing, the effects for the timeline, for the texture, they have a seed. So if let's turn those effects, are pretty heavy, and turn the proxies off for the bullets. Now, so the texture has this panning effect, and if I change the seed, now it generates a different arrangement for those textures. So it just kind of randomizes them. That way you can have different text effects for different renders, and we can overlap them in comp after. Let's take another look at this one loops. It just loops at the end, or just hits the end, or we can have the timeline loop. This start and end frames, we can toggle those there, and now the loop will only go between those two keys, so the starting and ending, and that way we can sort of only look at a specific piece of the timeline. Let's change that back. Let's put it here, and let's put this one at 90. This here allows us to play the music, so we can load an audio track here, and we can mute it on and off. The effects, so let's take a look at the effects node. Essentially, the effects node is here. We have a projectile, fed it into the first input, and then here we have a mesh that we put into the second, and that instances the mesh across time. We have a couple of parameters here that we can set. So this bullet is on the scene, so it passes the projectile. Let's see, let's toggle it on and off. Let's find out where it is. Okay, there it is. And this is animated normally, just going forward, and it's coming from the effects node. So this effects node passes that instance over, and in this case, this is not an instance. This was just it was just transformed. But you can pass an instance or not. In this case, I only have one mesh for the bullet, and so for it to show different bullets in the scene, I needed to instance it. So the first one doesn't have an instance, but the other two are instances. And this pattern here is going to, so let's turn on our effects, and as you can see, there's let's turn our wireframe on, and turn off the texture. So yeah, there's this sort of trail that gets created behind it. Let's turn off the other bullets so that it's a little easier to scroll. It's actually this one, okay. And there you can see that mesh that we have in the second input is being instanced across. And if we turn off if we show our proxy, so let's turn that off. Now this is the sort of like the curves that it uses as a proxy instead of instancing the second input, and we can change that shape with this ramp, and this other ramp is for the scaling over time, so that the end of the curve looks thicker. Let's take a look at that. So I changed that setting, and that will apply that ramp across the time. Make sure, okay, so we got it here, and the bullet is right there. So yeah, so you can see it's getting wider towards the back, and skinnier at the start. If we have this change here, wonder what that will do actually, because there's a pattern that gets repeated over time. So there. So now there's a missing spike there. So put it back. And this has age. This is sub-steps. So if I put it to 1, I'm gonna have less of those repetitive rings going over. Let's see. Yeah, so it has less of them. I've been playing with those settings there to try to get the amount of rings that I want, but this one also sort of changes that. This is the live, so how long those rings live, and age, max, and min. There's a material node that also gets applied to the incoming second mesh for instancing, and it has transparency and it has Fresnel. Let's take a look at those settings here. If we can slide that in. We have more or less transparency. We also have a refraction, index of refraction. If we put it above 1, it will give us a sort of like a refraction looking effect. Let's actually preview that. We can change the Fresnel. So there's this, it just gives it that kind of rim, different color for the rim. Let's take a look at the material again. Yeah, with the mesh on. So we toggle this effects on. Okay, so that switched the orientation of the mesh, and that's because we updated something here. Yeah, this transform nodes sort of changed the rotation of those instances. So I sort of changed that. I think, okay, it's supposed to be -90, I think. There. And let's take a look again. So, okay, there we go. So that refraction, see, it's kind of it's not perfect, but it's doing some sort of effect there. It's just a bit too strong and things like that. But essentially, that's the idea. It's sort of creating a kind of refraction and bending the light kind of look. These are just instances, and they show up on this over here. We have 3 different bullets using the same model. So let's take a look at the rendering. So we just have a rendering node here. In this mode, we can just set the camera that we want. There's a default camera, and here it's just grabbing the other camera that we created, the Cine camera. We can set the frame range. So here we set the frame range. We browse to a location. So let's give it a version 20. So we have this version here. Let's see, version 20. So let's give it version 23. And the reason we have 2 is because in one mode I have the wireframe on, which I can change the color here. So let's make it white, or let's make it red. So now we have this wireframe red. Let's take it down a little bit. Let's make it yellow actually. Yeah, we have that, and now we can render. I rendered 2 passes for the recent render that I made. This is also a new node. It's just a playback of just the frame range, and we have MP4 also. So we can play our MP4s and our image sequences inside here to check our renders. This is just the beauty pass, and then the one with the wireframe, because I rendered the wireframe with different materials. The bullets had different transparencies and things like that I made for comp. So I sort of just created 2 renders let's just make this render here. So when we click render, it grabs our animation. It just automatically sets everything for us. And it renders the camera that we set it to. So it's just going over. It's not gonna look at the in and out frames because we already set it on the node. So yeah, it's just gonna render whatever that node was set to. And there we go. Now it's done. It gives you a message where it put the frames. Now in here, we can just go and navigate to that render that we just made and play it back. And there it is. This node can also be resized. If we want it to be bigger, it will just scale up. And there's our animation with a wireframe. So we can use that in comp to overlay on top. Yeah, we have different settings for the seed if we want to have different text animation. I also added this feature where I can scroll the wheel with the playhead here. That way makes it easier to go in and out of. That'll be it for now, the frame range. That'll be it for now. That's all the new features for animation and rendering. See you next time.